I got the chance to interview Karuna Rawani with the Engineers for Sustainable Medical Development. If you remember that name from anywhere, it's because that's Nathan Similick's group. So kind of cool connection there. ESMD is a bioengineering group at the University of Pittsburgh that focuses on cooperation between students, faculty, and industry, medical industry, and hospitals in the area. And ESMD was started because the founders recognized that there was a lot of resources. There were a lot of resources in the area that just weren't talking and weren't getting utilized. I guess Pittsburgh University has great connections with all of these resources, but nobody was actually using them for any end of getting students some kind of unique education. So ESMD provides students with, well, a lot of things. It gives them real-life work while they're doing their undergraduate research, a little bit of a leg up on classes, project management skills, and most importantly, it just gets them involved. It gets them involved in the work that they're really going to be doing and provides them the opportunity to actually work. If anybody is familiar with the program that I work with on my campus, the Bison Microventure, ESMD is kind of similar to us, but on a much larger scale. It's kind of cool how that connection worked out. So thank you, Humera, for putting us in connection.
You're very welcome.
Kind of an interesting point. ESMD is a club. So as far as academic permission, support, cost, initial leadership structure, a lot of that was provided, well, not so much provided, but structured by university requirements for starting a club. They received a little bit of initial startup funding. They had to find an advisor. They had to form this leadership structure before they were formally recognized as a club. So right from the get-go, they already had a certain amount of infrastructure already created for them. I'm going to focus a little bit on the cost. Working with biomedical research is obviously not too inexpensive. You work with expensive chemicals and sometimes expensive equipment and machinery. But interestingly enough, ESMD, since they work on a project-by-project basis with industry professionals, a lot of the time those industry professionals either donate or lend, what have you, the equipment for them to use. So ESMD's running costs and overhead for a given project is actually fairly low. So the startup cost is less than you might think. They were promoted and launched, again, coming back to the club deal, a little bit by the relationship with the College of Engineering. They were able to make use of some really killer networking resources. I remember, I think it was Karuna that said she knew the head of the bioengineering program, and I'm sure that was a great boon to them. But just attending local networking events, going to student classes, going to freshman experience classes, and exposure for new students is just the best way to get exposure on a campus, go figure. So a couple of really big tips from Karuna. The first one is recognize the potential that you have on the campus. Recognize work that you don't need to do. Recognize that even if you don't see it, there is probably a lot of work going on behind the scenes, or a lot of people that want to do the work that just may not be as vocal about it as you, and make use of that. Yeah. So also make use of every single resource available to you completely shamelessly. Go to companies, ask them for donations, ask them for information, ask them for some of their time, ask them for volunteering. Kind of a cool point that Karuna made is focus a little bit of your time at least on non-engineering students, because they, while they still may have an interest in what you're doing, and even though they may not be able to have the talent to do the research itself, they are great for PR and getting the word out and doing kind of more of the grunt work that that engineering students might not have the time to do with heavy course load. So that was a cool point that I actually hadn't thought of when it was brought up to me. Third point is that you need to ensure that everybody communicates and has the resources that they need to work. If nobody does, especially in a program as large as ESMD, I think they're at like 70 people now, the work just isn't going to get done. And the group can only operate at, or each project group can only operate at the rate of the slowest number. So it was described to me as difficult but necessary to occasionally take the initiative and pull a group member aside and say, hey, maybe you don't have time, maybe the passion isn't there for this project, is there something else you can do for us? You're here voluntarily, so we know that you want to be here. Is there a way that you can help us that makes use of your resources? And they have had to let people go. And it's not an easy thing to do, but I guess that summarizing that third point is it's really sometimes necessary in order to let your project team grow. So on the, wherever I put it, there it is, the landscape, I would say ESMD jumps between 1, 2, and 3. They have the presence on campus in the freshman engineering programs to generate awareness. Hey, bioengineering is a thing. Here's what we do. Here's an opportunity to come and learn more. And here's a project to work on. If I had to pin them down, I'd say probably number 3. Numbers 1 and 2 are just a means to an end, whereas number 3 is really their goal.
Right, because what they're doing is they are shadowing clinicians predominantly and looking at real life challenges that those clinicians face and working on potential solutions to the point where 5 of the teams that formed out of those 70 people, 4 have resulted in intellectual property, so patents applied for and on the way to being secured, forming the basis of venture or license. So 3 and 4, I would say, yeah?
Yeah, and that's one of their selling points, and it's one of MicroVenture's selling points too, and they're kind of cool parallel, is being able to tell students, hey, you are in your freshman, sophomore, junior, whatever you were at college. You may not know what you're going to do for a job, but if you work for us and you work with us, you can come out of college with 1 or more patents to your name, and that's really cool to be able to tell people.